What's going on? Uh, I just happened to hear this video, and they were talking about how the Native Americans came from Europe, and that's true. You know what I'm saying? But what they're not telling you is like, dude, there's like many migrations that came to the Americas, and that's just so evident. I was listening to this one guy's video, and there was an Indian guy. I mean, at least he said he was Indian when he wrote the paper, but he was like, and this thing that we're the lost tribes of Israel, he's like, don't force your belief on me. We've been here for 20,000 years. It's obvious. And I was thinking, wait a second. Is this guy anyway affiliated with the Smithsonian or the Catholics? Because is this guy just a gatekeeper? Like they always have these white people getting caught taking over like these black groups. Like there's a white woman that was just braided her hair and said she was black. Like they threw on some of that tan in a bottle. There was a white dude with glasses and he had a fade. He had a nice fade, but look, he was a white dude. But and how come like people ain't recognizing like, wait a second, man. Why are you keep trying to get in the head of our ethnic organizations, man? And it's their gatekeepers. This is the way it's always has been, dude. Part of COINTELPRO is to infiltrate any kind of minority group and then get in leadership position, then lead it into some kind of crime, so that since the guy's the FBI that's at the head and he convinces them to do the crime, he gets busted himself, but he gets a pass while all the other cohorts that he coerced into it get the rap, kind of like the AIM Indian movement kind of thing. That's a good example of. And then you also got the Black Panthers thing, and you come to find out Tupac was targeted as a Black Panther because he was related to an ethnic minority group, and there was just a war on it before he was ever born by the government through continuity government, Rex 84. But anyway, I realized, I'm like, wait a second. It's like, it's just like the land bridge theory. It's like, wait a second. You act like because you believe that these Neanderthal monkey men needed to walk across the land bridge to get to the Americas. When I thought about it, I'm like, wait a second. You, all the, dude, you got the Polynesians out in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. How'd they get there? They came across on boats. Look, you don't need land bridges. All you need to do is island hop. The Vikings did it. The Templars did it. And it's like, look, they just followed the same route that my tribe got here with. They got in the Great Seawater to the east in Canada. That's like Thunder Bay, okay? And right to the east of that, a little north, you got Iceland, you got Greenland, and then you go over, you got Russia, Siberia, you got the Nordics, you got England and stuff, okay? But if you go above England into the above Viking territory, you got Russia. And look, you go to the left of Russia, you get to Canada. You go to the right of Russia and south, you get Alaska. You don't need a land bridge. Look, the Eskimos would hunt seals in canoes and boats. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. It's the same thing like, how did life come to be? Well, there was some primordial ooze and some chemical mixture, and there was a big bang that it's like it's all based on imaginations when they ignore the evidence. The evidence is nothing happens by coincidence. So neither did we. You know what I'm saying? And in order to, it's like they try to make all the evidence support the imagination as opposed to stopping the imagination. Let's just look at the evidence and we'll work with that and we'll see what we come up with. Come to find out, it says the X group halogen is related to the Aborigines in Australia. So the people up here in the Great Lakes have a slight ethnic connection to the Aborigines and the Asians of that area too. And what I realized is I was like, all right, the Indians migrated here, and from what I catch, it's like 800 to 1,000 years ago, and I was like, was Genghis Khan taking over the earth during that time? Because he was all the way up there into the, like, if you go east of Israel, you're right over there into India. And then I was reading in Second Ezra's, it was like, since the northern kingdom, the southern kingdom were being disobedient, God was like, I'll take the children of the east and give them Abraham and Isaiah and Jeremiah and all the other prophets and the people in the Bible. It's like, there's just so, it's the answers are so much simpler, dude, but they obscure them in nonsense and just jargon and speculatory, totally speculatory. I mean, it's like, look, the vain imaginations, man. And what it is since they've already lied to us about our entire history, in order to cover their lie, they got to manipulate the evidence. It's kind of like, since you're biased and prejudiced, whenever you hear the truth, you just can't accept it because it knocks what they teach everyone, like what professors and bullshit get paid, like to teach students these lies. So look, if we discredited your whole teaching, doesn't that make you look really bad? Wouldn't that really hurt your pride? You know what I'm saying? Wouldn't that really reduce the persona that you're enlightened and the top grade, top notch? And it's just, it's irritating to me personally, because look, I've put in my time to study this stuff and like pull together clues, and it's just so obvious that they're full of shitzel. Because look, once again, I watched this archaeologist guy's video, and he was in South America looking at the hieroglyphics of one of them South American Indian uh, groups, like the Mayans or the Incans, and they had the African king with an M name. You could tell because their headdress was different in Africa than it was in South America. Just like the Egypts had their own kind of headdress, but they were all the same kind of. They were similar, but each empire in different continents had its own leader, and they all gave tribute probably back to Egypt. You know what I'm saying? It's called Commission. They're called Commissions, and it was a black Egyptian outpost in Africa, like Timbuktu or something like that. And it's, once again, Alexander the Great supposedly went, and when he conquered the world, since he went to every minority group and like defiled their statues, their holy places, paganized them, Hellenized them. So us looking at them now, I mean, he literally went and tried to. I mean, they burnt the Library of Alexandria. They burnt all the books like Hitler. You know what I'm saying? And it's like there was a concerted effort always to stop history, and whatever group was the main tyrants would always steal the knowledge from the people and claim it as their own. And that's what has been done. Just like Christopher Columbus is accredited with finding America, but that's an oxymoron. You know what I'm saying? Like literally, but yet it's still, I mean, and it's just this whole, everything that these people have done it's all based on lies and freaking straight up fiction. And it's like I said, it's not that hard to think. These people used boats. There didn't need to be a land bridge. And I've known forever, since I've had access to internet and Google, that it's obvious we're related to the Siberians in Russia that you never see pictures of. They always show you these white Khazarian looking Caucasian types, but they don't really show you much of their Asian, like native tribes that live out in the remote places. And once again, they probably got left over there during the time of Genghis Khan. You know what I'm saying? But right there at Israel, you got Africans, blacks, you got the Asian colored darks, you got Europe's not that really that far away. Or and definitely in Russia, you got the Aryan looking Caucasians there now. Maybe they've probably always been there somewhere, or they moved from Europe. Once again, the Vikings also, like I think they're Dan, like they're called the Danish, and they taught their people just a different history uh, because maybe sometimes it's like people always have this tendency to want to forget where they come from, and they want to make themselves sound better than their true upbringings. A few generations of that, you know what I'm saying? You could have your people totally thinking something else, but I realize that the Middle Easterns, I look at some of their architecture, their buildings, and they're so similar to the Vikings' way of building stuff. It's like medieval. The Middle East now, it's still like medieval type architecture, and you can see it overlays in the Viking lodge house. You know what I'm saying? Just like with even here in the Americas with the Indians, some of their stuff is like it looks like same thing, medieval, almost European style, feudal times style architecture. And I think they all learned it from at the same place in the Middle East when Israel wasn't just this little thing that we see today, but it was the whole